Welcome to this webinar from Think Active, focusing on PE and sport premium reporting for the 2019-20 academic year, looking at advice and guidance around how you should be completing the reporting for July the 31st, 2020. The short webinar will take you through a number of areas. PE and sport premium expectations as a gentle reminder, PE and sport premium reporting template as the national example. There's also a local example that Think Active have produced to help support schools, and also considering advice and guidance for the July 31st reporting, giving particular consideration to COVID-19 restrictions. As a reminder, the PE and sport premium expectations haven't changed much since 2013, but particularly for the online reporting for the deadline of the 31st of July, you should be breaking down the amount of premium received and a full breakdown of how it has been spent, the impact the school has seen on pupils' PE, physical activity and sport participation and attainment, and how the improvements will be sustainable in the future. Swimming data is also considered during this reporting time. However, due to the COVID-19 disruption, this may look slightly different school to school, and definitely looking different from previous years' reporting. You consider that the PE and sport premium expectations has always set out mainly two areas of work. Firstly, to develop or add to the PE and school sport physical activity offer already in your school, and secondly, to build capacity and capability within the school to ensure that improvements now will benefit pupils joining the school in future years. The 5 expectations haven't changed. They are the engagement of all pupils in regular physical activity, considering the 60 active minutes approach, with 30 minutes in the school environment and 30 minutes in the home environment. The profile of PE and sport is raised across the school as a tool for whole school improvement. Increased confidence, knowledge and skills of all staff in teaching PE and sport. Broader experience of a range of sports and activities offered to all pupils, and increased participation in competitive sport. Considering COVID-19 and the lockdown procedures and the difficulties we find schools are under currently, we wouldn't expect a full year's worth of reporting as we would normally see in previous years. However, actions that were planned in the summer period last year should have been carried out between September 2019 and March 2020. And if schools have taken previous advice, they would have kept up to date with the website reporting on their school website. The national template has always been advocated by Think Active, created by the Association for PE and Youth Sport Trust, commissioned by the Department for Education to support schools in evidencing the impact of the primary PE and sport premium. It is widely used across Coventry, Solihull and Warwickshire. However, schools are free to use their own template, but the national template does give a good amount of guidance and structure around how this should look in practice when displaying it on your website. So in using the Think Active example template that can be seen on the same web page that you access this webinar, the second page within the template you can see key achievements to date and areas for improvement and baseline of evidence of need. This really should be your starting point every academic year of planning. So as you can see from the example, the key achievements were kept very number based. So in an example, 89% of pupils engage in at least 2 extracurricular clubs across the year. We do advocate that schools should be keeping quantitative evidence of engagement to help plan for future activities, rather than the PE and sport premium spend being very ad hoc planned because you have the money. It should be planned on the basis of knowing where the need is in your school. Areas for further improvement and baseline of evidence of need, that should be born from your key achievements to date. So where you see gaps to develop and areas of work within your school around PE school sport physical activity, this is where the template should be used to help plan those areas of work. I always like to give the advice that don't put too many areas of further improvement down in your template. When doing the website reporting, that is looked at, and if we see a list of 10, 12 areas for work that aren't achieved, questions will start to be asked around, well, why hasn't the school achieved that? And you need to be realistic with your time, with your school day, and what can be achieved across a normal academic year. So these areas for further improvement, and you see in this example, subject knowledge and leadership capabilities, you see active teaching, learning methods and playground leaders. You'll see that reflected in the actions of the template. So when the website reporting is completed in the summer term, you should see that what you've identified as a PE lead as an improvement should be reflected in your planning. In terms of the swimming, this will look massively different this year. If you haven't swum between March and July, which you wouldn't have done, then you leave it blank. If you were able to use your swimming planning effectively September to March, then include the data. Just to confirm that the data is for your Year 6 swimming only. You don't have to take the Year 6 swimming again. You can use the data from their Year 4 or 5 swimming whenever you took that Year 6 cohort swimming. So you are predominantly probably using historical data, and just to confirm you don't have to take them swimming again to ensure that they can reach the minimum standards required as per the national curriculum. So moving on to the template, onto the next page, you will see key indicator 1. So we'll briefly work through 4 of the 5 key indicators, given an example of how they should look. So in terms of key indicator 1, looking at the engagement of all pupils, in this particular example, it's looking at active teaching and learning strategies, which is quite common in schools across Coventry, Hull and Warwickshire. And the particular target on the intent is to develop an approach to support active teaching and learning strategies in classrooms across the school, and ensuring that by summer term, 70% of pupils are undertaking active teaching by the end of the summer term. So within the implementation strand, you'll see how that action is carried through with the funding allocated. And the important thing to consider is the impact. So impact is seen as a quantitative example of how we can demonstrate the impact of that spending. So the £900 and the £300 for cover support can be demonstrated in improving this area of work. So in this example, 156 pupils are now undertaking at least 5 acting and teaching opportunities across the week. 2017-18, it was estimated to be 30. Obviously, this is only an example, but it demonstrates how impact should be seen and how impact should be measured. It's purely on a number basis that we can see impact. Okay, moving over to key indicator 2, looking at whole school improvement. In this example, we're using whole school improvement, looking at teaching and learning strategies across active maths and English. In this example in particular, we're focusing on the impact shown. So using the Teach Active resources as an example, there was a progress, initial progress of 3.6 was made in previous years using the Teach Active resources. And this solely focuses on the impact, looking at how the spend of £900 for the resource and the £300 for cover support was used to impact on something that shows impact across the whole school agenda. Equally, this could be done on a number of examples. Second example, using key indicator 2. This is using playground leaders, Year 6 leadership activities to look at playground activities, and the impact that I've used in this example is around behaviour incidents at break times. There are lots of examples across Coventry, Hull and Warwickshire where schools are using playground leaders to set up activities, sports activities, but not many actually look at it in the way it can be used around behaviour incidents. Every school I go into across the area, if they've used a playground leader activity, they'll guarantee me that behaviour incidents have reduced as a result of that activity. But there's very little evidence in the previous year's website reporting activity that showed schools actually using that data. So in this example, behaviour incidents at break times have reduced from 11 per week as an average in 2018-19 to 2 per week since this playground leader activity was put in place. And that's a great example of how the PE School Support Premium can be used to support whole school improvement. Okay, key indicator 3, looking at staff confidence. This is quite an obvious example, but one that is seen quite often in school website reporting, where you're using the funding to develop teaching practice within a certain year group. Within this particular example, we're looking at improving differentiated practice and concurrent feedback within teaching of less confident teachers. The implementation part of the action plan demonstrates how this is actually going to be carried out. And then in terms of the impact, what we want to be looking for is ways of demonstrating that impact. Words like increase, improve don't actually demonstrate impact. They're just a qualitative way of saying that things have got better. But to show how things have worked with impact, you need to be carrying out some form of baseline measurement and then looking at a measurement after activity to look at the difference it's made. So that in this example, using staff CPD survey, confidence to deliver is now 90% following the 6 weeks of activity, whereas it used to be 40% in the previous year. Ability to work with more able pupils is now 70% compared to 20%, and planning for differentiation is now 60% following the 6 weeks of activity compared to 20% in 2018-19. That kind of evidence then helps support sustainability and suggested next steps. It shows an actual impact of the work that's being done over 6 weeks, and it's easily justified to a senior leader in terms of putting additional support in using the Pean School Sport Premium for future work. Moving on to key indicator 4, in this example looking at a broader range of activities. I will stress that sometimes broader doesn't mean more activities, it might mean different. So in this example we're looking very specifically at 20% of disengaged pupils in the school from Key Stage 2 through 2018-19 analysis. And that's an example of where a good review of your P premium spend in the previous year really helps support intent of how it's spent. In this example, we're looking at including different activities, archery, breakdancing, orienteering, and SAQ fundamentals to support these 20% disengaged pupils. And when we're looking at the impact is clean, it's simple, it can be seen. Each session was attended by at least 25 pupils from the 28 targeted pupils, providing an additional 18% of pupils engaging in activity twice per week. So this shows that the money used to support these coaches accessing the school and the pupils accessing these coaches improved the total number of pupils engaging in activity twice a week by 18%. Having completed the website reporting for Think Active during the 2018-19 reporting cycle, I'm just going to share with you 4 key learning points from that reporting, which should be reflected in future reporting. Firstly, it's that around that impact measurement and demonstrating impact to activities and spend. I have mentioned it a couple of times, but what we want to try to get into the habit of is avoiding terms like increased or higher quality or more pupils without giving quantitative impact. I'm sure P leads across the area do keep this data and they keep registers for clubs. They look at who's accessing certain activities, but they're not actually transferring this into impact data to demonstrate the true impact of what a Pean School Sport Premium is. Secondly, it's understanding what is whole school improvement. In this example for the Pean Sport Premium reporting, you saw the example of behaviour incidents and literacy and maths. And this is how schools can use Pean School Sport physical activity to impact behaviour, attendance, etc. Whole school improvement isn't running assemblies or putting up notice boards. That's quite a common theme that I saw in 2018-19 reporting last year that looked at whole school improvement. So schools are actually ignoring the true value of how Pean School Sport physical activity can improve schools if used correctly. Thirdly, it's that swimming reporting. I think there's some misconceptions or a lack of awareness of what it includes. Just to confirm that it is Year 6 that are currently leaving, and you don't need to take Year 6 swimming again. If they swim in Year 4, use that data. However, given the current situation, I wouldn't expect to see a lot of swimming being reported this year due to that fact. And lastly, I started off by saying this, but in terms of completing an effective analysis of past spending to support ongoing spending improvements, that's really how you should be looking at planning your PE School Sport premium. It should be determined by a review process rather than thinking, I've got this money to spend, what can I buy? It should be a needs-led analysis process to help support that. So to conclude this short webinar, just a little bit of advice and guidance for the July reporting. There is that clear understanding that schools are under an enormous amount of pressure currently, and if schools have taken previous advice and guidance, then what you currently have on your website should allow you to demonstrate the impact of what you have spent your PE School Sport premium on currently. Reporting should have been undertaken anyway, as I said, between September 2019 to March 2020. However, you need to make it clear where actions have been postponed due to COVID-19, and those actions could be rolling over to next year possibly. But the funding could also have been used to support physical activity for key worker children, or for a PE league to access equipment and resources for social distance PE or homeschooling resources during this time, and those can be fed into the reporting. And just to confirm that there is that expectation that swimming is likely to be most effective. If you're looking at developing your reporting past July 31st into next year, then on this web page there is also a governors should, head teachers should, PE subject leaders should document to help support what the 3 levels of responsibility are in that PE School Sport premium.